Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today's Saturday, November 8th, 2025, and no deportations in Canada. They're going to get amnesty under this budget, which I told you yesterday is looking like it's going to pass. The amendments that, the NDP voted with the Liberals on amendments through Thursday and into Friday, and those were confidence issues. And it appears, Mr. Sunshine Baby says Pierre Poilievre could have triggered an election, but did not. And I think that's unfortunate. I haven't confirmed it, but Mr. Sunshine Baby seems very upset. So we'll look at that. And so even if we could, we won't have an election now. So that's super duper not good, I guess. At the same time, I can't say I'm surprised at any of this stuff. The remote EV updates from China that can disable a bus fully, Switzerland or Denmark, one of those countries, is having an issue where they've realized that the update SIM. So they were given a SIM by the Chinese manufacturers of the electronic bus that they were buying. And that SIM gives a backdoor to the Chinese manufacturer to disable the fleet at the push of a button if they want to. So that's concerning. And like everything comes with that these days, doesn't it? Really? Like they're building that kind of stuff into almost everything, right? So, and I think that's also one of the reasons why they're getting rid of gas-powered cars, right? Far too much freedom there. They're trying to introduce UBI again, so universal basic income. They want to have that because it lets them control you a whole lot more. It's not like I don't think that your run-of-the-mill Canadian looks at the reserves and how things are going on the reserves by and large and says, yeah, man, like that's a great place to be. I love no running water. Now, I'm sure there are some reserves that are wonderful places to be, and I'm not trying to cast shade on reserves. I'm just saying government paid for housing isn't respected in the same way as your own house, which you bought and paid for and is your property and so on and so forth. There's a difference. And that's illustrated. We have examples. And so they're pushing us to that model, and it's more control, not less, for them, and less control for us. Subpoenas for Russiagate and maybe RICO charges, I don't know, but it's certainly very interesting. There seems to be movement, and we'll see what happens. And I've got some U.S. news as usual. And where we start today is attack on the poppy and on Remembrance Day here and in the United Kingdom, lots of places, but there are places as well that are standing up and some surprising allies making themselves known as well. Tim Houston, who knew, right? So conservative, maybe, kind of, sort of. Anyway, there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, the poppies. Ryan says, when wearing the poppy becomes an issue in Canada, things are going downhill quick. Who was fired again, right? It was Don Cherry fired for saying, you people come to this land of milk and honey and you want the spoils, right? But you got to wear a poppy, everybody. Why don't you wear a poppy? And he got fired for that and thrown under the bus by Ron MacLean himself, right? And he was right. And this was years ago. He was calling it out years ago. He was saying, listen, you got to wear a poppy, people. Oh, I'm not even wearing my poppy today. I have it, and I had it on my sweater. Oh, man, see, I'm saying it. I have it on my coat too, but anyway, regardless, I apologize for missing my poppy. But you got to wear a poppy. And so CBC is reporting Saskatoon prosecutor upset she's not allowed to wear a poppy in court. So I wonder if anybody's going to fix that out there in Saskatoon. And City News is reporting, this is disgusting. Nova Scotia Premier slams judge's order prohibiting poppies while on duty, right? And so, yeah, Tim Houston says it's come to my attention that earlier this week, there was an order issued prohibiting individuals working in certain court facilities from wearing poppies while on duty in those locations. This order was issued under the guise that the poppy is somehow a political statement. This is disgusting. The poppy is not a political statement. It is a symbol of remembrance and respect for the fallen and those who served and continue to serve our country. Poppies have been worn in Canada since 1921. We have courts and a democracy because of the courage of those who are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice in pursuit of and defense of the very rights and freedoms we enjoy. The judges who issued this order are wrong. While I respect the independence of the judiciary, I respect veterans, the very people who made the ultimate sacrifice defending our country, our values, and our democracy, and more. It is not lost on me that our veterans fought so we can enjoy the freedom the courts uphold. That's why I find it impossible to believe any judge would ban a symbol of respect for the fallen, our veterans, and their families. I stand firmly behind anyone who wants to wear a poppy in their workplace. Because of the actions of these judges, if necessary, I will introduce the Nova Scotia Remembrance Observation Act that will enshrine the right to wear a poppy in the workplace from November 1st to November 11th. So there you go. Good for him, right? So sometimes Sometimes conservative premiers do conservative things, but he hasn't done anything yet. He's made a statement. He hasn't actually followed through. I'll let you know. Here's Basil the Great coming from England, and he says West Ham. And if you've watched Ted Lasso, you know who West Ham is, right? So West Ham is the rival soccer team, football team that Ted Lasso's team plays against. Anyway, West Ham says the poppy does not align with their club values anymore, and therefore they won't feature it on the club shirt. So screw your poppy. I've never rode in this group in my life. My kid plays for West Ham, and this was the message I've received tonight and think it's absolutely awful, and so does everyone else in my team. Dear coaches and parents, as a part of our commitment to aligning with club-wide protocols, we want to share an important update regarding this weekend's fixtures. While we deeply respect the significance of the poppy appeal and remembrance activities, we must be led by the club on all initiatives for various operational and safeguarding reasons. Therefore, it's been decided the poppies will not be worn on match shirts during fixtures this weekend. We understand this may be disappointing for some, and we appreciate your understanding. This approach ensures that no individual feels pressured to participate in any initiative that they may not feel comfortable with, while maintaining consistency across all programs. Thank you for your continued support and cooperation. So they're removing the poppy because people might not like it, or who complained, right? What's going on with that? And it's not just here. There are other places as well. England is doing the same thing, stopping Remembrance Sunday parades. There are people being interviewed talking about what do you have to say? And they say, this isn't the country I fought for. Like, things have gone downhill fast. Holy smokeronies. I'm paraphrasing. Made in Canada says new Vancouver crosswalk unveiled. I think this is Surrey. Somebody said, Brittany says Surrey, actually. Vancouver is far too liberal for this. But there's another Lest We Forget crosswalk. It's weird I'm fine with the Lest We Forget crosswalks, but it's really strange to go that far with propaganda with crosswalks, rainbows and rainbows and war. Okay. Here's Jim, and he says Second World War vet tells students how he went to battle. And so that's at least respecting the history, right? Respecting the past of it. And so it's interesting to watch all of this, and it's interesting to watch they want to move the news cycle on. They want people to forget so they can go to war again. They want a big war. And the lest we forget is we will never let this happen again. We're never going to do this again. And then if we forget, then we can go back to war. So they're going to be like, yeah, forget about that Remembrance Day thing. Remember that genocide you guys did? Let's talk about that. Right? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. So they're trying to, I think, completely undermine and rewrite our history right in front of us. And I read 1984, man. It's wild. Tommy Robinson, let's talk about freedom of speech. Tommy Robinson says, another day in modern Britain as Joey Barton has been found guilty of 6 counts of hurting people's feelings on X. TV host Jeremy Vines said in court that Barton gravely upset me, and a sports pundit female said she'd suffered anxiety from his words. Oh, not anxiety, right? Judge Andrew Menery commented on Barton wearing a Union flag scarf as the verdict was read out. He has chosen to adorn himself with a particular flag, which I suppose is a stunt to make a point. He will not be permitted to do that on the date of the sentence. Farcical. So how dare you wear a British flag to make a point with me, right? I'm going to throw the book at you more, sir. National Post is reporting, as the bill's text states, any Canadian found to be condoning, denying, downplaying, or justifying the Indian residential school system could be punished with up to 2 years in jail. First reading, another NDP bill threatens to jail Canadians for speech. NDP want to jail Canadians for demanding proof of a very, very large claim. Big claims require evidence and proof. How dare I demand these things before we start being shamed for something that we didn't do? So yeah, jail, straight to jail. Overcooked fish, undercooked chicken, straight to jail. Best patience in the world because of jail. Unbelievable stuff. The digital ID will help them achieve their goals of straight to jail. If you make somebody feel anxious on the internet, I'm sure I just my presence every day, my Canada Poly banner going live every day makes somebody feel anxious. And not because I'm particularly good at my job. Clearly I'm not. Clearly nobody likes this show. After years and years and years, I'm very, very, very stable at what we've got. But it's weird, right? But like, um, they focus on silencing people like me, but there are other people who are much more radical, right? Like it's weird because I'm just laughing at this shit. And I mean, it's very serious. Like it's no laughing matter, but I'm kind of just laughing at it, right? But maybe that's what they're afraid of. I don't know. But it's something else. Anyway, they want to get all this done, and the vehicle to get all this done is the digital ID, and that's the point this guy's making. And he's on a Foursquare here with Catherine Austin Fitts, who I like a lot anyway. So let's listen to what digital ID has the potential to enable them to do.
What people need to understand.
It's been a couple of days since too fast talking. Sorry, everybody.
At the end of the day, about a digital ID is the digital ID itself is not the problem. It is the vehicle that will make all of the other stuff not just possible, but almost inevitable. Think of it like an on-ramp to a superhighway that has no exits. Once you get on that on-ramp, you can't turn around. There's nowhere to get off. And you don't have to speculate about what they want to do because they've already told you. Just listen to some of the sessions as a World Economic Forum. Listen to Yuval Noah Harari with his nonsense about Homo Deus and surveillance under the skin. Pick up a copy of Klaus Schwab's book on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. He summarizes this in one sentence. He says it's a fusion of all digital, physical, biological identities. And then he breaks that down in the book. He talks about mandatory government brain scans to determine whether you're thinking thoughts that might represent a security risk. I mean, that's the kind of nightmarish future that these megalomaniacs and totalitarians have planned for us. And the digital ID is the critical piece of the puzzle that's going to make it not just all possible, but inevitable. Once they have you in that, they can give you as many boosters as they want to give you. They can, we've heard all of them talk about it. They're literally marketing this to Americans now on NBC Fake News. You're going to have your chip under your skin, and it's going to be your digital ID and your digital wallet. I mean, the EU is rolling out right now your digital wallet with your digital ID, your digital currency. It's happening as we speak. It's not a hypothetical future threat. There are thousands of lemmings in human bodies walking around Sweden right now who have their microchip with their COVID vaccine passports. Once they take that last critical step, which is the digital ID, that'll be your access for being able to work, being able to access healthcare, being able to go shopping, being able to get your children enrolled in any kind of school or program, there will be no turning back. If you say no to any of the future things, you'll just be locked out of everything. So that, I think, is the real threat that people need to understand. It's not like the digital ID itself is going to be the end of the world. It's that the digital ID makes all of these other evil things practically impossible to resist. And
that's the point. And the slippery slope becomes a false floor. Like it just gone. It's just a slippery slope. It's vertical. Like it's gone. You're falling. Pierre Poilievre, let's do our grab bag of governance. And Pierre Poilievre is highlighting Mark Carney undermining the idea and calling the idea of building pipelines boring. You know, pipelines are so boring. They're so yesterday. Why don't we build AI? That's so much cooler than pipelines. One of the two things might be a bubble. The other of the two things might be sustaining modern society. And it's not AI. Okay, so AI is not sustaining modern society. So Pierre Poilievre says, Mark Carney says pipelines are so boring and then says they're not that important. Nothing has changed. Liberals will never let a pipeline happen. You will need a conservative government to do that. Oh my gosh, a conservative government? How can you lose 5 straight elections, 4 straight elections? How many straight elections have they lost? 3 leaders, 4 straight elections, 5 straight elections, whatever it is. And say this is a viable party that is actually challenging the status quo. We are viable. We are in tune with what people want. It's bullshit. It's a flip-flop party. This is flip and flop, which would have been more believable if they'd passed over the reins to Pierre Poilievre, that it's not a uniparty or all rigged anyway. But they're clearly... Technically, they ran a very, very good campaign last time. I thought it was a top-notch campaign. And they still couldn't win. Rigged? Sure. Yes, I think it's rigged. Yes. So what do you do? Is it the party's fault? They can't win. So what do you do? I don't know. But saying, eventually enough people will get sick of the Liberals that they'll quit and go over to this conservative party, I think is folly. So It's only a matter of time before the party fractures. I think it's only a matter of time before the country fractures, if I'm honest. We have too much debt and not enough social cohesion to care about repaying it, right? Like so. Juno News is talking about Mark Carney and how boring pipelines are. Here we go.
One of my questions was, is this pipeline going to come? So
boring.
It's not actually.
It is.
For
it is. No, but it is. It is because it's. Look, it's. Don't worry, we're on it. We're on it. Like we're on it.
And
but
who's
there is
showing
this
up to
whole
that
world.
I don't believe that they're on it. I don't believe that they're on it at all. Like he says a bunch, we're on it. We're doing it. Don't even worry about it. Like Danielle Smith's there, blah, 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 blah. We're doing it. Bullshit. They haven't done anything. They haven't done a damn thing. So I don't believe his paternalistic dismissal of pipelines as boring. I don't believe any of this show. I don't believe any of it. This is a show meant for low information voters who are easily swayed. I don't believe anything he's saying here. I'm just showing you how confident he is in dismissing a pipeline or any kind of energy infrastructure development.
Okay,
other than
hands
maybe
up.
windmills
Who's working
and
on
solar.
the pipeline in this room?
Nobody puts their hand up.
Okay.
Isn't
Right.
that a problem?
No. Look at all the variety. Like, Nav, like, does your, like, we have.
Yeah, there's more.
When he asked Nav, what's your investment? And he put his hand back and forth like he did, his implication was, your investment doesn't involve oil and gas, right, Nav? And that's the whole point. And I don't know why I know that, but I definitely know that. And I think you know that too. But that was his intent there, right? Your thing doesn't require oil and gas. Nobody in this room's investment requires oil and gas. It's so boring, oil and gas. We don't need oil and gas. Why aren't there any oil and gas execs in that room is my next question, right? But I think that it's very interesting that he's highlighting his lack of interest in dealing with one of Canada's best, most reliable, historic exports to our biggest trading partner. He's not interested. He's not interested in building refineries here. He's not interested in doing the things necessary for Canada to stand on its own because it's so boring. It's so boring.
Prosperity, they'll get more cell phone services.
But look. Okay, so what's going to drive one of the things? Don't worry. We're on the pipeline stuff. Danielle's on line one. Don't worry, it's going to happen. But something's going to happen. Let's put it that way. It's not very good negotiating by my perspective. But what some in the room will unlock on the data center side, the intelligence infrastructure side, will have a much bigger impact on productivity in this country. Will have a much bigger impact on our standard of living. And advantaging that, which is what we're doing with the productivity superdeduction. Like, it's an easy conversation to have about a pipeline because it's one thing we can see. But the reality is that there's much, much more to the Canadian economy, and there's much, much more to the future of the Canadian economy. And so we're attacking it on all sides.
So we don't want to talk about a pipeline at all. Right. Canada Proud says Mark Carney just had the audacity to suggest that Canada doesn't need any pipelines. This is the pipeline part clipped it out. So we're not going to watch it again because we just watched it. But yeah, he says, so boring. Danielle Smith's on speed dial. Don't worry, we're going to get it done. And then he says, well, we'll get something done. That doesn't sound like we'll get a pipeline done. That sounds like we're going to offer them windmills and solar panels, and that'll be that. Mr. Sunshine Baby says, I can't believe what I'm reading. Today, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party had the opportunity to trigger a snap election. The Bloc proposed amendments. If the amendments passed, then an election would be triggered as the House Leader, Steve McKinnon, considered them a matter of confidence. The NDP, the Bloc, and the Green Party all voted to trigger an election. They voted for the amendments. Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives voted against with the Liberals. Poilievre single-handedly kept Mark Carney in power today. There's no legitimate reason to do so. Let's say the amendments were crazy and unreasonable, even if there were clauses in the amendments that would mandate price flags on every street corner and $100 an hour minimum wage. If the Conservative Party voted for them, they would have never been implemented because we would have just gone straight to an election and the budget would have been void. Pierre Poilievre knew this. Jerry Brine knew this. His advisors knew this. Yet the CPC chose to vote with the Liberals and keep Mark Carney in the office. I'm baffled. Well, uniparty. So, I mean, if you watch this show, you wouldn't be baffled, right? It's par for the course, guys. It's, that scene in Charlie Brown where Lucy sets up the football for him and he gets all ready to kick the football and then she moves the football at the last minute. There you go. That's the same thing. Watson says, is responding to the Governor General of Canada, and he says the comments are off. My gosh. If the Governor General took any of the First Nations seriously, they would be in Parliament where they can advocate for themselves. And here is Governor General of Canada says, on this International Inuit Day, we celebrate Inuit culture, history, and contributions that continue to enrich our shared story. And again, like it's fine to have your own day and all the rest of that. But like, what does this do for national unity? What does this do for Canada, right? Like, what does this do for the broader country, right? Like, it's kind of bullshit. And it's kind of like a PR program to promote this whole new ideology of giving the land back and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm very skeptical of what's going on here. I've got my suspicious fry eyebrows on. Michael Cooper, we'll do this story and then I've got to kill the stream. Michael Cooper says, outrageous, top Brookfield execs are obstructing a binding offer of the House, a binding order of the House to answer questions about Carney's use of offshore tax havens. This is contempt of Parliament. What exactly is Brookfield covering up for Carney? And so, yeah, it's a good question. And there's back and forth here, but we're not gonna watch it today. Wealth Moose says Parliament asked Brookfield executives to testify on Carney's conflict of interest concerns. They said no. It's not a scandal. A reminder of the hierarchy. The public doesn't get answers. Power doesn't get interrogated, and we call that democracy. If there was nothing to explain, there would be an explanation. So here's the Brookfield letter thing, and it says, Dear Mr. Brassard, Brookfield remains committed to supporting the committee's important work, and we want to ensure you that our testimony can appropriately address the inquiry's terms of reference. Our prior letters of October 15th and October 31st sought such clarification regarding the Standing Committee's invitation to appear in connection with its study of the review of the Conflict of Interest Act. Further to your response of October 31st, 25, and in the interest of transparency and supporting the committee's ability to carry out its study, we are addressing this letter to all committee members and including our prior correspondence for reference. So basically they say they're not coming. So very, very not surprising, right? I said the other day when it happened that I called it. They're not going to show up because nobody ever showed up. When the Parliament, like Parliament's kind of toothless. Parliament demanded somebody show up and give documents. He showed up and said no. And then they said, we're going to hold you in contempt of Parliament. I don't even think they did. There was no jail time or anything like that. It was just like, okay, all right, your shift is over. Go home for the day. And then we're going to be real mad at you for the next little while, right? Like not much happened. So setting a precedent like that, we'll demand things and we'll make a big noise, but not actually do anything. Not so good, right? Not so good. Kirk says, Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew, is saying something here that